Test 1 2 test 1 2.
Penis. Penis.
Hello and welcome to another episode of At Your End Step. My name is Morgan and I'm joined with Jordan.
Hey, what's up?
And Mike.
Hi. I'm here this time.
I know, Mike actually decided to stick around this time.
We do
Appreciate him being here for the podcast, as always. And we're definitely here to talk about a few things. Obviously, the Pro Tour just wrapped up today, and we want to talk profusely about that, as well as discuss a few things about like the Star City Open that happened and some of the decks that we saw there, as well as our typical question of the week, and then kind of do some shout outs, some social media stuff there at the end. But first, we did want to throw in a quick apology here. We did record an episode with GP Detroit winner Josh McClain. Unfortunately, the recording of that episode got lost, and it just did not turn out the way that we liked. We had some drops, and it was unfortunate. So we couldn't cobble together an episode for that one, and we do apologize for that. And we hope to have him back on again, but we do just want to say thank him, and we do want to thank him, for him being on our podcast and for him giving up his time to do that. So now that that's out of the way, let's go ahead and kind of dive in here. First, we did want to talk to Mike and talk to him about his SCG Cleveland experience, since we weren't able to get it last week. So, Mike, if you want to just kind of take over and talk a little bit about how you felt about what deck you played, how you felt about it, and everything like that.
Sure. I do want to point out nice use of cobble, as if we're making shoes as we
listen. In all honesty, I think that is going to be our new catchphrase for the show, because we've used that quite a few times. So we're cobblers.
There are in fact tiny elves building the show for you right now.
Correct.
And
they're really mean sometimes. They pick on me, call me fat boy, and run wild.
Wow. Okay. And bad elves. Anyways, so yes, in Cleveland, I played the big Boros list I've talked about a couple times on here that I've been tuning. Played it to a pretty mediocre 4-3 record. I tuned it so I could beat Control. Played Esper Control twice and Blue-White Control once. Beat them both without pretty much any issue. So mission accomplished there. Unfortunately, I lost to a pretty... It was kind of eerie, the mirror match that I lost to, including a game where I literally, over the course of 4 turns, had War Leader's Helix cast against me 4 times.
Yeah.
How win?
I was like, oh, all right, well, that's a lot. Okay, cool. And then, so a lot of flooding. I played a pretty frustrating match against Jeff Rasmussen, who was playing the exact deck list that Jerry T was playing. I guess they had been working on it together. Because I was like, because the list popped up online in Jerry Thompson's article on Star City this week, and I was like, oh, well, that's exciting. But it featured a game where I had enough land. I was musing as I was dying that I had enough lands. Like, man, if I drew a Stormbreath Dragon, I could cast it and Monstrous it in the same turn.
Oh man!
And I had also scryed away 4 lands, so a little frustrating.
Certainly.
You right there, Jordan?
Yeah, no, I'm trying not to sneeze. When we do this in person, I can't just mute the microphone. It's sneezer have a bodily function. So it's like, yeah, anyway.
But anyways, we were so in contention, we decided to go get food. We did.
The way you said that's really funny, though.
We went to, if you guys ever go to, in the Northeast Ohio region, to an event, and you see a Swenson's, it's a drive-in place, do yourself a favor, dear Lord, incredible.
Yeah, right, most certainly.
That was really the one though.
But anyways, I will say this. I've written 2 articles about this deck now on Legit MTG. So if you want to see the tuned list and what I've been doing with it, you can take a look there. And if you don't care, don't.
Yeah, very much. But yeah, no, they're very great articles. Mike's a great writer. And,
wow.
We just want to make sure that you know that if you do want more of the At Your End Step crew, it's out there. Just go to legitmtg.com.
I'm on Legit. Jordan's on Pornhub. It's all good.
Exactly, right. So if you really want a whole lot more,
how dare you insult my acting career?
That was a really good fat joke.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
I didn't mean it like that.
Morgan owns the elves. It's your goddamn cat's the reason I'm sniffling.
So, again, yeah, check out Legit MTG for Mike's articles. We'll kind of go ahead and move into Star City. That was the smaller of the tournaments that we actually have going on right now. And we'll talk about the top 8. Obviously, it's your typical top 8 list that you expect to see. So we do have some new ones that are kind of on here that haven't been on here before. Specifically, Adrian Sullivan actually is on here with a red-white list, which is a red-white aggro list that is splashing white mainly for Boros Charm, and that's pretty much it. Most of the main deck looks like your typical mono red list. It does go a little bit bigger. It does have 4 Stormbreath Dragons, so it runs around 25 land. Which is not typical for the aggro-y lists that we have been seeing. We also see that he does have a one of Tajik, Blade of the Legion, or Tajik, however you pronounce that, which is pretty interesting to say the least.
That's in the sideboard.
Yeah, that is in the sideboard. Yeah, it's a one of in the sideboard. So I don't know necessarily what he did ever bring it in for, but it is there. But we do actually, the interesting thing is we do have 2 of these lists in the top 8. So I think that's, it could be a new deck that's kind of cropping up. I know that our own Dave Nolan kind of had a list very similar to this that he was brewing with before the set got released, but he kind of pushed to the side for Esper. So maybe it was just a good idea that it just hasn't been to the forefront until now. And the actual Pro Tour was won by a green-red mid-range.
Pro Tour? The Open was won by.
The Open, yes. The Open was won by Zach Stern playing your green-red monsters list. The typical, big, stupid green creatures.
Wow.
I mean, that's what that's what they are.
Fat, stupid, turn your volume down on your phone.
AtYourEndStep would like to apologize to all the fat green monsters out there.
It's alright. I'm already used to offending large groups of people. Who cares?
At least you didn't say large people. Yeah.
Large people in groups. Yeah.
So we see that this list has your 4 Stormbreath Dragons, has 2 Rukh Thar in the main deck, running 3 Xenaghosts, 4 Dominant Raids. So your typical expected green-red monsters list, which is pretty par for the course.
It's Brad Nelson's list.
Yeah, I mean that's basically what it is, and we did actually see some of these lists at similar lists, not the exact list, but similar lists that show up even at the Pro Tour. So when we talk about the Pro Tour, we'll definitely touch on that as well. Now, guys, with the information that we have from these lists, so we also have let me take a look here. We have a blue, white, black, Esper list that shows up, and I mean that's pretty much it. This top 8. We also have black, white, red that shows up as well. These are typical lists that you should have been seeing if you are staying competitive with the things going on with the brewers and everything like that. Did you guys see anything that you really feel is worth noting, talking about, other than the new list and the red-white list showing up?
I mean, the Opens sort of get they get more inbred quickly. I mentioned this before. The Esper list that made the top 8 has no creatures in the main deck, no Aetherling, because Aetherling is a control mirror card. So he wasn't expecting control mirrors this week because Esper's been down. Thus, no Aetherling. But if your control goes back up, then the control list with the Aetherling is going to do better. So beyond little things like that, I will say going back to the Adrian Sullivan's list, these mana bases for some of these red decks are just terrifying me. I'm going to play 4 Boros Reckoner and 4 Mutavault. I hope I can cast it. So, and in that deck there's enough threats otherwise, but man, it's going to be so awkward when you're just like, oh, I wish I could cast this spell all the time.
Guess I got 3 of these in my hand. I can't cast them.
You saw that on stream a couple of times, where the guy would have 2 mountains and a Mutavault, and Europe and Mutavault, and you would just seem to go, well, okay, and it's just awkward.
Now for those decks, I mean, like the list I've been running, I'm not running any Mutavaults because Boros Reckoner is an aggro stopper for me. I'm a mid range deck. I want to play Boros Reckoner to block. In those early games, so I'm more worried about playing it on time, whereas maybe the aggressive decks aren't as worried about slamming it on time. But just does seems like there's going to be a lot of games where, if you end up with 2 Reckoners in your hand, you're just gonna, you can't afford to lose that much time in this format because it's a lot easier. I think it's a lot easier for the control decks and the mid range decks to stabilize against the red decks. I think you have so many things like the Green Red Monsters list that wins. I mean, just playing an Ember Swallower on turn 3 shuts down those red decks because even if they have a Mizium Mortars, it doesn't just take care of it by itself anymore. You've got to throw a creature at it and Mizium Mortars it. Everything's costing you cards. It just, I don't know. I feel like you stumble on mana because of Mutavaults. As powerful as Mutavault is,
yeah,
it's a conscious decision you're making that you've got to run quote unquote hot.
Right. I mean, I'm sure. I'm expecting that Adrian Sullivan's definitely going to write an article about this list, and I will definitely be interested in reading it because I think it's an interesting list. I think it's probably a better direction to go if you want to go aggro, just because Boros Charm is really nice, and not having to play something like a white weedy based list and going bigger with the red creatures, especially with having Stormbreath Dragon because that guy is a house. I think this might be a good list to go. I mean, you can always just play mono red still, but it's definitely interesting to see that 2 of these lists making the top 8. So I think it's definitely something to talk about. But I mean, that's really it from the Star City list. I mean,
the number 16 list is pretty interesting.
Oh, well, let me take a look at that here. The 15 and 16 list happen to be both mono color devotion. One is a mono black list at 15th, and one is a mono blue list at 16th. So these 2 lists kind of lead us into our discussion about Pro Tour Theros. So Pro Tour Theros was a very interesting sort of Pro Tour. A lot of what we saw of it was pretty low power level comparatively to other Pro Tours. Like, Jordan and I were actually talking about it before the cast. The last kind of standard Pro Tour that we had was Gate Crash. And out of Gate Crash came things like the Aristocrats and Wolf Run bands and things like that, where we had those powerful cards that were still in Standard. We got a whole new list that stayed until Standard rotated out, with the Aristocrats. With this, we have definitely some interesting lists. The first and second place were both mono blue devotion lists. Now, this is a new list that came out due to the Pro Tour. I think it was first seen on Friday, obviously, and got a lot of buzz because it's playing things like Thassa and Nykthos and Master of Waves. These cards were, $5 trade-in cards that you had beforehand, and now suddenly they're $15 to $20 cards, if not more. So anyone that went deep on Nykthos or Thassa or Master of Waves, congratulations, you just made a lot of money.
Well, it's pretty funny because on Friday of the Pro Tour, Dave posts in our Facebook group after he just kind of made his walk around the room, I would guess, maybe a couple rounds in, made a post that says, hey, go buy these now, mono blue is a thing. And at first I thought I was just getting ready to call bullshit. Right? And, I really didn't believe him. But then I checked prices, and I was like, oh, I already missed the boat. Yeah. These are $1 billion.
Yeah, all those cards that I started listing, like, Thassa had been relatively expensive. Like, I don't think it ever went below 10 like Nylea or Heliod did. It was always like a $12 to $15 card. And now it just is like 20, if not more.
25.
25, if not, 25 at this point in time. And then things like Nykthos I honestly think Nykthos should have been going for more, period. But it was like a $5 to $6 card.
I think it's the smaller cards. Like Tidebinder Mage is now a $4 card.
Oh man, I have like infinite of those.
And Nightveil Spectre is a $6 card.
Yeah, that sucks.
Yeah, I remember throwing those away at one point. I opened 4 boosters or something. Like all 4 were Nightveil Spectres, and I was pissed because that card wasn't played, and just threw them away.
Yeah.
So
you're dumb.
But so. This is kind of the breakout deck of the Pro Tour. I mean, this is kind of what I was wanting to see, is something that hadn't been seen before. I can't say that I necessarily like this list because I don't play blue, but...
Do you want to hear something terrifying?
What?
Judge's Familiar has now won 2 Pro Tours.
In a row. Go Judge's Familiar. I played that card. I played that card in white-red aggro. I know that card's good. It's a Pro Tour winner right there. It's a little owl that could.
Challenge.
Fair enough. But yeah, I mean, so what do we think about this list, guys? I mean...
I feel like... So, and this is something we'll talk about more. It's kind of going to lead us to our question of the week. Mm-hmm. But, it's so hard to judge a deck like this because it's based on the Pro Tour, like what they were expecting. I can't see this being very good in a huge metagame. Like, you're playing a lot of really, really terrible creatures. Like, you're playing Cloudfin Raptors in the main, you're playing, like, Judge's Familiars. Like, you don't have a lot of powerful draws. Yeah, you're drawing a lot of cards, but possibly you're drawing a lot of cards.
Yeah, you have the Biden of Thassa out. Oh,
you know, obviously, you know, the if you watch the finals, there was, you know, the last game of the finals, there was literally a curve of like Cloudfin Raptor, Frostburn Weird, Nightveil Spectre into Master of Waves, which was a Master of Waves then for 7, and like that's a lot of power on the table. But you're also dealing with a mirror match of a deck that actually can't, like, minus a random rapid hybridization, actually can't kill a creature.
Right.
So inherently in these ridiculous mirror matches, Master of Waves becomes very powerful. But if you saw some of the matches like Paul Reitzel or Patrick Chapin who are playing the black-white list, like when you have a Doomblade, you just kind of laugh at Master of Waves because you let them like try to like build up their board state and then like go all in with these tokens and you're just like, yeah, you get out of here.
This is Doomblade. You know, doesn't have protection from black.
Esper gets insane with this list. I mean, I'm surprised Esper didn't do as well as it did.
Well, I mean, I think so. You got to play. You know, you have to play the back and forth here, and I think they assumed there wouldn't be because of the rise of, you know, the junk list, you know, Dan Lester's junk list,
right,
the black-white lists. I think a lot of people really thought Esper wasn't going to be around. Not to mention you saw Mono Red and Burning Earth hanging around.
Yeah.
So you want to be, you know, this deck is good against Mono Red. You know, there's no, you're
100%.
playing Tidebinder Mange in the main, which, you know, is locking down red creatures, and you're playing Master of Waves, which Master of Waves, even a nominal Master of Waves against a purely mono red deck, is lockdown mode.
Mm-hmm.
But as we already saw in the open, I mean, once you have red-white, then you have things like Chain the Rocks. Myself, I was talking about Last Breath today. Like, like you'll have answers to this. And so I just don't know how, taking it out of this context, I mean, you know, you bring up Esper, how does this deck be a Supreme Verdict?
Right.
Like, I literally don't know how it does it.
Azorius Charm, Hero's Downfall, right? Like, there are very real cards that beat this. The Sam Black had something to say about that just during the course of his deck text. He said that his worst matchup was 50-50. I have to imagine his worst matchup is Esper. And he claims that it was 50-50. Now, I don't know what their testing showed, but Merciless Eviction hoses this deck. I mean, like, you just...
The sideboard's pretty good for control. Most of them are playing some number of Aetherlings, some number of Jaces. Yeah, and they're also playing Gainsay, which is, you know, in the mirror match, but also against the control decks, is just a nut. But I really feel like there's a lot of these mid-rangey decks. In this deck, I don't know. There's some scary aggressive starts, and Nightveil Spectre does work. But when you can't beat a Doomblade or a Lightning Strike off of your Nightveil Spectre, I don't know. I don't know. I feel like...
I mean, I can't deny that the list, I mean, it's good. It was good for the Pro Tour. I agree with Mike that I don't know how much of an impact it's going to make going forward. I do feel that at some point in time, I just think this feels fragile. I think, you know, I think they have a really good time turning on Thassa, and I think Thassa wins a lot of games for these decks because it makes things unblockable, and that's really hard to deal with. If you just have a board, you play Thassa, and it's active, you just make a bunch of your giant guys unblockable, and they're like, well, I guess I just die. But I do think that Thassa is kind of the house of this deck because, like, it fixed with the scrying, and you're able to you know, have a better chance of getting what you want.
Oh, for sure.
And you're a lot easier to turn on, you know, Thassa with all your blue devotion guys per se. But I don't want this to be like something that's super prominent. Like I just feel that there's going to be decks that are built to, like, even Muster's junk list. I think Muster's junk list has a really good way to actually get around this list because you have, you know, targeted removal, and you can even do things in the sideboard like, you know, play Fade to Antiquity if you really needed to. Like, you have that option, you know, if you want to. What were we going to say, Jordan?
No, I just keep thinking of cards that hose this list. I'm kind of amazing that it did this well. I mean, like, Pining Needle hoses this list. Named Thassa. Like,
but I mean, still though, I mean, I think a lot of people were building decks like, if you look at the mid-range decks that aren't black, okay, LSV's list, which I was talking about, that sort of thing. Not playing even any main deck removal. Or playing all the Elysian Mortars in the sideboard, that sort of thing.
Right.
Those decks can't beat Nightveil Spectre.
Right.
Like, that's actually the card that's actually just insane for them. Because that is, especially if you hit a land, and what was really insane, they were talking about this all over the weekend, is so many of the decks were playing Nykthos, that Nightveil Spectre was hitting Nykthos.
Oh, gosh.
They were talking about, like, at one point, like, against the black decks playing the Grey Merchant, that you could hit a Nykthos, and then you can Nykthos for 3 black off of your... Or you can hit a Grey Merchant, and then you can Nykthos off of your...
Oh, God!
Yeah.
Combo!
And you still hit them for 5.
Right, exactly.
You know what I mean? So, like, that's what's really powerful, but like I said, I feel like... And that card, you know, dodges Doomblade, obviously.
Right.
But I don't know. It still can't... there's a lot of, I think the removal has to be right to beat this deck. And
Sure.
if I think in a bigger open setting, it's going to be harder for this deck to do well. But in this one, Sam Black's a master deck builder. I mean, the guy's results, are just insane. And he's good at metagaming for what he thinks is going to be present. And they did a good job of that. But I think, I think bigger meta, this deck, and like any deck, this deck is beatable. And I just feel like it'll probably pop up from now and then, different versions of Will. But it's probably, I don't see this being a deck we're going to see doing well in opens.
Yeah, it's not something that I definitely want to. It's not something I definitely want to see going forward. I don't like this list. Again, it could just be personal preference. I won't disagree with this list. It was good for the Pro Tour. I just hope it doesn't continue. I just hope it stops. Don't play this list. And I mean, even people were playing this list, and I don't know how much of the format, how much of the meta this list was, but it was almost a known quantity when the Open was going on. Obviously, it did show up at 16th place, but who knows what this is going to look like going forward for the typical grinder, the person that's going to be going to tournaments and stuff like that. Now, again, we did talk about the green-red list that did win at the Open. We also do have another green-red list piloted by Makihito Mihara. And he was...
who crushed Dave, by the way.
Oh, did he?
Yeah, Dave had to play him early on.
Oh, man, that must suck.
In limited or standard?
I want to say it was standard. I think it was it might have been the first round of standard.
Oh, man, that is brutal. I would not want to face this deck at the first round of standard, because his Gruul list is pretty...
Grueling?
Yeah, it's... Oh, there you go. You did it. You did it. Congratulations.
Listeners, if you laughed at that joke, you're everything that's wrong with society.
Don't listen to George.
Shit, I laughed at it.
Please continue to listen. But this list was... I think this list is actually one of the better ones to come out. I think it's very, very powerful. And there were pictures of the board states that he'd have by turn 4 where it was just shit. Just shit everywhere. And, that's all it was. It was 3 planeswalkers for no good reason, and all this mana and everything like that, and 3 lands. You're like, how the fuck did you do that, you crazy Japanese bastard?
Well, so he's on playing Voyaging Satyr with Nykthos.
So you can untap it. Yeah, it's amazing.
Land. And, you see this in drafts, and you're like, oh, man, this is, it's a mana ramp spell, whatever. And then you look at Nykthos, and you're like, oh. And one of the decks that, the mono blue deck was on camera a lot.
Right.
And one of the decks that had Polychronos in it were really giving it a hard time. Because an active, a few monsters, with any sort of, I'll say conviction, with any large amount of mana on Polychronos against an average board for the mono blue deck, it doesn't recover very well.
No.
So, and having Nykthos in this list where you can just be like, okay, Polychronos, Satyr, Devotion this, Devotion, untap, Monstrous for $1 million. Right? Exactly. Nice Master of Waves, bro.
That's huge for this list. I think the amount of mana that this list can generate, and seeing things in this list, 4 Gare Color Beasts, that card's actually dropped down in price. And it used to be a $20 card, and now it's 12 to $13. I'm like, it might be pretty good to pick up if this is a 4-of list. I think this list is where you want to go if you're green-red, in all honesty. I might just be wrong, but I really like this list and what it does. It just creates so much mana. You have things like Arbor Colossus in it, so you're like, oh, nice flyer, it's dead. And
also has 3 green for Devotion.
Right, exactly. And it is playing, 2 Nylea, which is pretty relevant. Nylea is seeing play, so that's pretty good.
Well, giving creatures like Polychronos, trample.
Yeah,
is a big deal.
I mean, you kind of need that. I think this deck is pretty sweet. No, honestly, if I was going to pick up a green-red list to play, I'd probably play this. I really like it. It also has Xenagos. I mean, it has Domri Raids, has Xenagos. If you want to play Planeswalkers, this might be the list you want to look at too. Has a lot of them.
His sideboard is so awesome. I love looking at the Japanese lists because they're always so random. He's got Wasteland Vipers in his sideboard.
Yeah. So you can attack with your Polychronos, and then you can Wasteland Viper it, and then Monstrous it, and then you have a Bonfire of the Damned. I think you just created one. So it's a green Bonfire of the Damned in a can.
I will say another card that made waves is Waves. Yeah?
Yeah, look at you.
And he only had 1 in his sideboard, and I have to wonder how much better he would have done if he had more. But Mistcutter Hydro.
That card's house.
If you're going to play a mono blue devotion deck, you hope you can beat the pro blue guy with.
That can't be countered. Have fun with that, yeah. Yeah, so, I definitely agree. I think that card. When I first saw that card, I was just like, "This card's a joke. It's not that good. Don't even worry about it." But I think this
I
card.
mean, I'm all in on playing the Soulclasher / Mistcutter Hydra.deck. You know
Yeah,
what I mean?
clearly.
What? Nice blue cards, mother. Oh, you're unblockable.
I'm just gonna play this Windstorm and wreck your day. Just green X.
Oh, Skylash has reach.
Yeah. Oh yeah. The Skylash guy. Yeah. I mean that guy's.
Come on, 2/2 spiders.
I mean that's fine. Yeah, it's good. It's good. I don't know what kind of joke you're trying to make there. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I just kind of awkwardly smiled.
That's pro blue, correct?
Yeah. Yeah.
I was just trying to make all the pro blue.
Oh, you said Soapflash Spider. You meant the.
I said Skylasher twice. Didn't
I think you said.
roll back.
There's no replays in this podcast. No replays. So yeah. The Skylasher, and that's not actually a spider. It is.
Oh, whatever.
It is an insect.
Well, it looks like a big vagina.
Okay.
Fair enough. Big vagina monster. Thank you.
I had a question for you guys about Pro Tour, not related to a deck list.
Okay.
As we're sitting here looking at the deck list, anybody that can look at this now can see that Makihiro Mihara is 20th in the world.
Yes.
How relevant, or what do we think of? We didn't talk about this last week about the top 25 rankings. I'm curious as to your guys' thoughts on that. It's pseudo Pro Tour discussion because the only time it's ever going to matter is at the Pro Tour. But I'm kind of curious as to what you guys thought because like Dan Musser, local, Ohio player, played the number 10 player in Stanislav Slivka and the number 14 in David Ochoa on day 1 of the Pro Tour, and I thought, well, there's no way this guy's making day 2, but he battled and made it anyway, so good for him. But what do you guys think about that top 25 system? I was originally very underwhelmed, but after the Pro Tour, I was just overwhelmed by how relevant it seemed to be. And they're laughing at me, by the way, because my nose is running and Morgan's cat is like the bane of my existence. So,
I'm trying to pay attention to the question. I promise. I'm just seeing snot just roll down his nose.
Yeah,
just like, whoa.
I'm dedicated. But what do you guys think about the top 25 system? Do you think it's relevant? Do you think it's a good system? Or do you think
I honestly just think it's interesting to look at. I don't think it really says anything. I think that those lists, like the top 25 lists, will probably be changing pretty consistently a lot of the time.
They should theoretically every week, right?
Right.
Well, yeah, every time there's a GP or
a big
else,
tour.
I mean.
But I mean, like, it's just another, it's like, I feel like it's just such a pissing contest for pros. It's like, oh yeah, I'm number XYZ in the world. And I'm like, I don't really give a shit who you are. Let's play some Magic.
Well, I mean, to be fair, pretty much every major competitive sport uses a ranking system like this. You know what I mean?
Right.
And I think it's fine. As a player who's playing one of them, you get to go like, hey, I played against this person. If you beat him, you get to be like, I beat this person. And then if you really want to think you're better than, like you're the 9th best player in the world out,
right?
Beat number 10. Then hey, whatever you got to do. It'll change a lot, which I think is good. It gives people something to shoot for. But at the end of the day, I mean, like, it's just like when you play a Hall of Famer and they're like, well, use a badge. You played a Hall of Famer. Because they actually do that. I mean, you actually get a button that says you played a Hall of Famer.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
do you really?
Oh, yes. Yeah, the Hall of Famers have buttons to give out if you play against one of them.
Yeah.
Oh, for real?
Yeah,
I didn't know that. You had this facetious look about you. I didn't know that.
I have a facetious look about me because at the end of the day, it's like, I don't know.
What does it say?
All right, we've already talked about my stance on Magic celebrityism in here.
Right,
So,
right. And that's why I'm really glad, Rad Nelson didn't talk me into that. Go back and watch that episode if you haven't yet, guys. That's the best one, I think.
Yeah. Go watch it. Go watch our podcast, our audio-only option. Yeah.
But, no, so, okay, I like what you said. It was interesting, though, to watch this and see. To me, I didn't like it because it shows the variance that's in Magic. Like, the top 12, the only ranked guy that made the top 8 was number 20.
Well, if you look at
Sam Black made.
Sam Black
if you look at the top 70, I mean, I will say this: various is definitely Rachel is not.
Right. Oh, is he not?
But if you look at the way that the game works, anyways, like you can say variance is a big deal, but the best players are put up the numbers despite variance. And if you look across the top 75, where they pay out cash to, I mean, they're up there.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And fair enough. And I mean, like, we didn't talk about that last week after it spoiled. So I was kind of curious what you guys thought. It seems to me just as a good a system as the BCS in college football. So,
well, I mean, it's better than the BCS because there's no opinion based on it.
That's true. It's very objective, right? That's true.
It'll change. It'll be something interesting to look for. But I mean, I highly doubt any of the pros are just like I highly doubt that Joshua DeLayton's like bow down, bitches.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. Like I mean, it is what it is. I don't think that it's necessarily very very interesting. Like I saw it came out and I was like, I don't even care. I just don't care that much. So like I guess maybe if I were on that list, maybe I'd give a shit. But I'm not going to be on that list. Let's be fair.
Maybe do like a Burger King crown and a scepter. So like when Sam Black becomes number 1 overall after this event, you know what I mean? Like, you know, Joshua Layton has to have a whole ceremony.
Oh, yeah, right.
Just
yeah,
like,
exactly.
I dub Sam Black, and then like a week later after one GP, Sam Black has to do it too.
Right.
That would be entertaining to me.
Yeah. There's actually like ceremonies and shit involved with it.
I did like. Oh, sorry.
Yeah. No.
Go on about your ceremony.
Well, I think that's something that I always find more relevant is like Planeswalker points, like people that actually like go out and play in events that aren't necessarily pro events. Like I think that's something interesting to follow because those are points you get for playing.
Yeah, but like I got
pro points over for being good.
Sure,
points
right,
for
whatever.
existing.
I guess.
Yeah, like you get a Planeswalker point just for playing in a tournament, no matter how good or bad you do. Like
Sure.
I don't know if that's good. So if theoretically someone could just go register for 1 billion events.
Yeah, but I mean, like if someone did that, I'd want to know about it. If someone's going around registering for 1 billion events, I think that'd be interesting. They have a lot of time on their hands.
All right, new train of thought. That's just bad.
Fair enough. But so let's go back to let's talk more about these deck lists. The next thing I want to talk about is Paul Rietzel's Orzhov mid-range list, so black-white. Now this is a list that he and Chapin both piloted. I think they had the exact same 75, if I'm not mistaken. There may have been like slight differences in sideboard and stuff like that, but I think the 60s were both exact. And I really like this list. I think I was looking at some of the lists with the top standard win percentage, and this was definitely up there in points. So I think that's something definitely to look at when you're looking at the Pro Tour results, because you could have decks that are standard decks that didn't necessarily have the same win percentage with a player. A player just could have had stronger draft rather than stronger standard. But I really like this list. It's definitely something if you want to go mid-range, I would definitely suggest taking a look at. It's pretty funny because Paul Rietzel is known as being a very white weenie-esque aggro player, and he actually got talked into playing this list sort of, and they were like, yeah, you get to play Soldier of the Pantheon, you get to play Precinct Captain, and just don't look at the rest of the list. You can just play those cards just fine, but you get to play these guys. Like this is good. Like you get to play a good half of a white weenie list, and the rest of the cards don't worry about. You'll just play them anyway. But when people would talk about this list on the Pro Tour, they would be like, it's not necessarily as synergistic as the mono blue list, but it just has powerful cards. Like I said, it's something that I'm looking into possibly pursuing coming up when I start playing Standard. Again, once my cards get back from Ireland. And so what do you guys think about Rietzel's list, or Rietzel/Chapin's list?
I mean, I already mentioned, like, I like the list. I definitely like this version of mid range. Obsidat, I think, is really, really powerful right now.
Yeah, I really think so too.
I was talking to Maureen before we started, but I don't like Soldier of the Pantheon very much. Like, I know it blanks a lot of the format, but like in these mid range lists, like I don't know, you have some blank draws late in the game. You know what I mean? Like Precinct Captain itself is not a very good draw late in the game, and Soldier of the Pantheon is a really terrible draw really late in the game. So I go back and forth on it.
Yeah.
But I saw some of the games that Chapin played. The little kid me got all excited when I got to see Kaibuda versus Chapin.
All right, exactly.
You know what I mean? And Chapin put it to him pretty well. One of the games literally was him riding a soldier the entire time.
That's true. He did kind of ride that to victory. But did you see the funniest thing was this, like the last turn of the game, and Kaibuda has a Nightmare Spectre on the board, and like he just has basically no outs, roughly.
Right.
But one of the outs is Kaibuda has to draw a Nykthos off his, because he had Biden in picture.
Yeah.
He had to draw a Nykthos, and then Chapin had to, with the Nightbell Spectre, get a Farika's Cure. That's what it was. He had to get a Farika's Cure, cast it off the Nykthos, and so that way he would kill the Soldier of the Pantheon and gain 2 life and live for another turn.
Yeah.
It didn't happen, but like
because he drew an opposite on the last turn.
Right, exactly. So the commentators were trying to be like, well, how can he even do this? Can he draw anything for Chapin's deck? And then Chapin's just like, oh, you can do this. Like, just like, not even blinking out. Like, Kai Buddha didn't even see it. He's like, oh, okay. He's like, and what the best part is, Kai Buddha's like, well, I did draw the Nick Those. So it was like the tenuous flip over and like Kai Buddha slow rolled him and everything. I think like really going to do that. But sadly, it didn't come to be. I wasn't able to witness that wonderful Pro Tour Farika's cure, but whatever. You know, what are you going to do?
I mean, either way, like with that, like I still feel like that game was less about like Soldier being good and more about the fact that the mono blue deck can't kill a fucking creature.
Yeah, no, most certainly. And Kai Buddha kept a 1-lander. Like that was the biggest thing. Like I was like, he kept his 6, and I was like, there's only 1 land in there. What are you doing? But whatever. I'm not in the Pro Tour Hall of Fame.
It's definitely not the Kai Buddha I remember from
exactly.
From my childhood.
It seemed like a very, very sketchy.
Real life got in the way, slowed him down.
I guess I don't know. But so we have, the green red list, 2 mono blue lists. What else kind of rounded out the top 8 that we see here? Oh, we have the mono black devotion list. That's right.
Pack Rat.
Yeah, Pack Rat. Yeah, Pack Rat's very interesting, guys. When it makes a copy of itself, it actually gets a little black mana symbol, so it adds to your devotion. Fun fact. In case you guys didn't know that.
Yeah, that's actually insane.
Yeah, exact,ly.
Why is that there?
What's the best part about this is, you know why Pack Rat was so good?
Why is Pack Rat so good?
Because the mono blue decks can't kill a creature.
We're gonna keep harping on this.
So you can't see this recurring theme.
Kind of like Pack Rat.
It keeps coming back. So yes, Pack Rat has now top-8'd a Pro Tour in Standard.
In constructed and limited.
Magic and limited. Yeah, Pack Rat.
Man, so if we just make the Pack Rat Judge's Familiar deck, we can't lose, right?
Apparently not. I have no idea. So it's going to be Esper, Pack Rat, Judge's Familiar, right? Just so we get more colors.
Oh, of course.
Right, yeah. You can't just go like blue or white. You got to have both.
I think this deck, the Mono Black Devotion deck, I think out of like all the decks that play Obzadot with the Whip have like the cute interaction with Obzadot. But like I think this deck is probably one of the better Whip decks. So like Whip of Erebos with Pack Rat is insane because like you can bring Pack Rat back, but then make a Pack Rat token. So essentially, like it's 7 mana to do, 7 mana to do so. But still, you know what I mean? Like that recursion and like Grey Merchant of Asphodel is like such a powerful drop in this deck. Like he's playing 4 Underworld connections. So when you're talking about devotion, these are the kind of permanents you tend to forget about. Mm-hmm. So it's like if you have 2 Underworld connections to play, your Grey Merchant is hitting for 6.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then like you literally you can sacrifice your Grey Merchant to your own like Desecration Demon, and then whip it back.
Well, wait, I don't think you can.
Can you not? Wait, am I wrong on that?
I think Desecration.
I was looking at that yesterday.
Opponent.
Okay.
So you can't do that. That would be awesome.
I was reading about this yesterday. I thought you could do that. I apologize. Why? All right, I was
too bad.
But I mean, you still like getting to whip that card back is insane. So I don't know. I think this whole deck. Now you have another weird choice in this deck. Like you're playing 4 Lifebane Zombies main.
Yeah.
Which I'm sure sounded great against the field, and then he played against the mono blue deck.
Right, exactly.
Let me guess.
I mean, that's
you got nothing.
I think Lifebane Zombie might be better on the Star City game circuit.
Oh, for sure.
There were green-white players in the field.
I think there's so many decks incidentally running Boros Reckoners that it's still.
Oh yeah, I think that's why. I mean, that's the upside with. That's definitely the upside with playing something like Blackbait Zombies. You do get the random. I guess they could have got the random Judges Familiar. Right?
Oh God!
But you do get the random Boros Record and stuff
Your
like that.
3-drop got my 1-drop.
Should have played that. But there are those random occurrences, but I mean, like that's what makes Lifebane Zombies good because there's a lot of hybrid creatures, multi-colored creatures in the format that just kind of get got by it, and that's fun.
Gotta get got. You got gotten.
You just
don't get got.
You just got got.
No, I mean, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I mean, I kind of like this list. What do you guys think about it? I think it's pretty interesting. You still have a Nykthos in there as well, so that's definitely got Erebos in there to kind of cut off. I guess that might be in there just for the sheer fact of Sphinx's Revelation.
I mean, it turns off Revelation. It's a big beater.
It's a 5/7. Yeah, it's
and honestly, like it draws cards. If you have a whip in play, like. Then the 2 life per card really doesn't feel that bad.
No, not at all. Yeah, but it's fairly interesting to see. I don't think we've seen we have a top 15 of mono black list in the Star City game circuit. So maybe this might be something that we see more over. I think it probably is pretty decent against the mono blue list. It kills creatures, I guess. I think that all of these lists, though, are anything mono black is definitely missing a sweeper. So, that's the only thing you kind of run into with it. But what are you gonna do?
You think we'll get a Damnation?
I mean, a lot of people have been saying like Damnation's super flavorful for this set, just for the sheer fact that it's Damnation and God.
I mean, it
like
may be flavorful, but Wrath of God is notoriously a white effect. I don't know if it's. I haven't seen anything in Theros that's breaking the color.
Morrow has said that Damnation is okay in black. Like that effect is definitely fine in black. Like he's comfortable.
It's very
with that.
rare. I mean,
most certainly.
Because there's almost always a string attached to black's master removal.
Yeah, and I definitely agree. But he said that Damnation's fine in his book.
I mean, geez, if we got Thoughtseize and Theros, and then and what's the next one?
Damnation and Born of the Gods.
Yeah, if we got Damnation. Man, black's just like the happiest color ever.
Right, it's like, woo! Do a little Charlie Brown dance.
Alright, if Damnation comes back in the same set with Thoughtseize, then you have permission to say Mono Black is back.
Yeah, there you go.
Because you saw Pack Rat too, because Jesus.
We can play Black Betty in the beginning of our podcast and have a good old
time.
No,
we can't.
Aw. Like the first 15 seconds of it, right? Like that's
No, I don't want to play Black Betty.
Fine.
Did you know she had a child?
Yeah, I heard a few things. A few things about that woman.
Bam
Whoa, Black Betty.
Okay, I'm going to time out on this one, too. This is all bad.
Okay, we're going to go. We'll move on. So the last list that we have showing up is the mono red devotion list. This one has 21 mountains, 1 mutable, 4 Nykthos. So even mono red devotion is like we still need 1 mutable. But I mean, this has everything from Purphoros to Storebreath Dragon to Frostbird Weird and Ash Zealot. Kind of goes up the chain. Has a Chandra Pyromaster, 1 main, 1 side. I mean, this is a pretty whatever kind of red list has some has Hammer of the Purphoros in there. But yeah, it's a pretty interesting kind of list. What do you guys think about this? Anything earth-shattering here?
So this is very similar to list that a bunch of Channel Fireball was on. I know PV and LSV were both on a green-red list, but it was red-based for Nykthos, but they were playing Dominant Raids and Xenagos.
Oh, yeah, they splashed green, right?
Yeah, and LSV said he was really happy with his deck. And it had to be a good mid-range deck to get PV to play it. I mean,
it's true. He's pretty picky about most everything involving Magic. So.
There was a viable Esper deck, and he didn't play it.
That's true.
But I will say that those decks were not anywhere near I feel like Channel Fireball really dropped the ball, and not drop the Fireball. But they were not prepared to beat the blue decks at all. Those decks literally could not kill a Master of Waves.
Yeah.
But I like the decks a lot. And I was talking before, I've been trying for a while to find a shell for Clan Defiance. To play with Boros Reckoner, because you target Boros Reckoner and your opponent, and you're like, yeah, that's right, take 1 million. So if you have Devotion and you get to play this,
yeah, that's pretty good.
So I'm gonna be playing around with that list, for a little while, just to try. Sorry, I had to take a little pause there. Morgan's girlfriend was showing me some Anytizers, and I started taking my pants off.
Yeah, sorry if you guys hear some background noise. My girlfriend's putting away groceries, so sorry about that.
She's a good snack maker. Great brownies.
But anyways, I feel like Nykthos obviously. What I think, even if these exact lists don't do great things, I think they've definitely shown. I think Standard needed this. Standard needed, players, even Open Series players needed to be shown that there are other decks. You know what I mean? Because the deck building, it takes people a long time to stop building decks the way they did in an old format. You know what I mean?
Right.
There was a list on Channel Fireball a couple weeks ago. There was something about Bant Flash with Advent of the Worm and the Horizon Chimera.
Yeah.
And I'm like, no, stop trying to build a Flash deck. Horizon Chimera is terrible. Stop trying to build a Flash deck.
Yeah.
Because, and maybe in some universe that could work, but in a format full of, possibly Abrupt Decays and Chain of the Rocks and, even, the mono blue decks are playing Voyage's End, you know what I mean? I don't feel comfortable playing a Flash deck where my token is my win condition.
Right.
And I feel like the deck building sensibility has to change, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I think that it always takes a Pro Tour to kind of get that around.
And I think,
a lot of time in Standard.
I think the Pro Tours have been sort of disappointing in that respect in recent memory anyways. The last Standard Pro Tour didn't really...
Gatecrash didn't break ground. When we looked at it, it was a lot of the lists that
the Aristocrats, the Aristocrats was a big breakout deck. But beyond that,
Wolf Run and
I mean, like, you had some accepted archetypes. I mean, I guess, I don't know, I guess I'm not giving enough credit to the Aristocrats list because that was a big deal. But I just feel like this is, the deck building will change a little bit because of this.
Well, I hope that it does. I mean, like I said, I wanted to see something that was changeful, impactful, and this definitely was. We saw a lot of monocolored decks, which is something that we hadn't seen in our previous stints in Standard, and I think that's going to be a huge impact to people when they are designing their decks for the next Star City Open and things like that. So that kind of leads us into our question, though, is like, how much of an impact will these lists actually have? When we take a look at Gatecrash, Pro Tour Gatecrash, we have the Aristocrats, which is a deck until Standard rotated. Do we see any kind of the list that we think that is going to happen with the decks that we see? Do we see an Aristocrats? In these.
I think maybe the mono black deck probably has people like playing mono black, and they have since all the way back to Torment when you could play Cabal Coffers with Corrupt.
Right,
Cabal Coffers, nick those. They're obviously not at all the same card, but similar in thought process.
Yeah,
I feel like people are going to keep playing around with this deck. I don't know how. Again, Pack Rat I think is the same kind of card as Master of Waves. Whereas I don't know how good it is in a bigger open.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, there weren't a lot of Magma Jets running around in this format.
No.
But, that card eats a Magma Jet pretty hard.
Yeah, most certainly. I mean, I think it still kind of is a thing. Like, you have to kill Pack Rat on turn 2. Like, you have to kill it. You can't let it sit on the board, no matter if you're playing limited or not.
Right, I mean, yeah, for sure. So I feel like that Jordan's flipping off the cat. I feel like that list has a chance. Obviously, the mono red list will be around, whether they're devotion lists or not.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Guillermo Waffle Topo has Esper Control. Esper Control is not not going to die in this format.
No, not at all.
So you see decks that are going to stick around. The mono blue devotion deck is, I think, the one that's probably just the shakiest. I think you will see more Thassa decks.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I think Thassa's kind of risen up and being like, hey, this is a card. I think that Mono Blue will be really, really popular for the next 2 to 3 weeks. I really feel like that's how it's going to be.
Well, I mean, yeah, that's what Pro Tour is doing.
Yeah, right, exactly. And then after that, I can see it falling off. I don't know if you can make Thassa... I don't know if you can make Thassa good and not a Mono Blue deck, because I feel like having her become a 5/5 is hugely impactful for you winning the game a lot of the time. Because if she does it, you're just playing dorky creatures, and that might get you there.
The unblockable though is a big deal with her.
That's true, and that's the only thing.
Scry 1's a pretty big game too.
I mean, Scry 1's fine, but you're still in the format where you could just play Underworld Connections. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Yeah.
Like Scry 1, Draw 1. You know what I mean? It's, but I mean, I don't know. I heard some rumors on Twitter of people already brewing. Blue Red was the deck that Thassa had seen the most. And people brewing Blue Red with Perforos, so you can play your Master of Waves onto a Perforos.
Oh my
Master
god!
Master of Waves, shoot you for
boom! Just a million.
So I think,
that seems a bit.
So I think this mono blue deck. Again, the way these lists. I mean, these decks are just playing too many weak cards overall to go out into an open and win. But I think the ideas in the mono blue deck will definitely stay forward.
Most certainly. And Jordan, what do you kind of think about the Pro Tour lists from what you've seen?
My opinion's not really that much different than ours. I don't know if I like the mono blue list. I might try to play it since I have all those cards, but just so I can do the flavor of the month thing for once in my life.
Sure.
Outside of that, it's the Pro Tour. It's a specific meta that's built for a specific time. And yeah, some of these lists are going to stay, like Esper and then Mono Red and stuff like that. But at the same time, I don't know how much I really care. I'm more worried about winning an open, obviously, because it's where I am.
Yeah, that's where we're at right now.
So
and
where I'm going to be at for a while. Don't make yourself feel good, there, Chip.
I said right now. Never give a time limit on that.
Don't crack that top 25 list, right?
Yeah, right, exactly.
You're in my personal top 25.
If I had a personal...
Wait, you only know 20 people.
I didn't say Magic players.
I really like the Orzhov list. I really like the black-white list. Even our own Columbus's own Andrew Morrow came into a top 8 with a black-white list. So I can definitely see this as being something going forward.
Top 8 of the Cleveland Open.
Cleveland Open, yeah. Not the Pro Tour. He was also on the Pro Tour. Didn't do so well there.
Calm down, Andrew.
He did top 8 Cleveland though with a black-white list.
He may or may not have gotten an STD this weekend.
Who knows? I don't know.
Oh boy,
he's a wild.
Well, I'm going to call a timeout on that one there.
We'll not talk about that. So
she was Norwegian.
Well, he was Norwegian. We're not 100%.
There were no picks to confirm or deny.
Mara once met a girl, or should I say, she once met him.
So, but I definitely see the black-white mid-range list being a list that goes forward. I think that a lot of people will kind of tweak this list and maybe add another color. Like I said, we do have Dan Musser's junk list. That is a thing. There was a junk list in 9th place at the Star City Open, and then there were junk lists in the top deck lists. So I definitely see it as being something that could be black, white, and junk would be the main contenders in the format right now as mid-range list.
Jerry Thompson was pushing the black-red.
Black-red, yeah. That's
black-white-red has been a big deal, and you can play like Anger the Gods with your obs of that. So, I mean, like, you get your sweeper that you're missing perhaps before. So, I think definitely this base and going forward, I mean, you still have to respect Burning Earth. I mean, the red deck in top 8 had Burning Earth. You know what I mean? Like, it's still a real thing. Man, how bad did you feel if you're like, man, can't wait to play my Burning Earth? Mono blue.
Oh, no. I mean, that's kind of an interesting thing to think about. Like, how much does it depreciate the value of Burning Earth?
Well, I think Burning Earth, obviously at the end of the last format was like, you could comfortably board X, or comfortably main deck X amount of them, and know that, probably in an open, unless you're playing a bunch of mirror matches, like, it's gonna be a live card.
Yeah,
now it's definitely a sideboard card.
Yeah, most certainly. And I mean, we don't even see, like, we have 1-3 color list in here, so like in the top 8, like, I mean, it's definitely something where it used to be like 4 up sideboard, like 100%. Like, you would be stupid last format not to have that if you were playing like a 2-color list or mono red list. But it might even be like 2 to 3 in your sideboard now these days.
So another sort of mantra in the Pro Tour is that pretty much every pro, especially in in a newer format, they always over-prepare for red. Yeah. So you end up having the blue decks playing Tidebinder Mage in the main and Master of Waves. Yeah. You know what I mean? And in a mono blue shell. You have tons of removal and very few of the decks choosing to add a third color, to play around Burning Earth. So, the pros are acutely aware of what they, they're not always great at, like, I look at Channel Fireball, who was not very good this time at calling what the main deck was going to be, but they also weren't going to lose to aggro.
Yeah, most certainly.
And in fact, they were more of the aggro deck this time. But they made sure that they had some mid-range components. They were playing dragons, because they just don't want to lose that way. Yeah. So the pros are very good at knowing what they, even if they don't know what they're going to play against, they know what they don't want to lose to.
Yeah, no, most certainly. So, I mean, obviously these Pro Tour lists are going to have some impact, especially I think the first 3 weeks. You'll definitely see a larger impact on these lists, and then who knows what will happen after that. I really hope that something kind of breaks out in the Star City Games circuit or something like that.
Like drones breaking out right now?
Yeah, we do have we do have a...
Looks like I've been smoking weed for the past 8 hours. My eyes are beat red, my beard's actually like starting to itch. Like,
he might be turning into a cat. But we do have a GP coming up, GP Louisville. That's also standard, so that'll be interesting to see how that is impacted by this as well.
I really feel about the mono blue deck, and I was saying this the other night, that it's a deck that's hard to play. Mm-hmm. Opening hands are very hard to evaluate because you have such like underpowered creatures. Right. So I do feel like a lot of the people that'll pick it up, Jordan.
I won't play this deck, by the way.
It's a tough deck to play. Like I'm not saying that from a condescending viewpoint. Like I wouldn't be comfortable just picking this deck up.
No, not at all.
Because I would feel like I would pick up the deck and go, I feel like this deck doesn't do enough. Right. You know what I mean? And it obviously does because it won a Pro Tour.
Yeah, but first and second place of a Pro Tour.
A lot of people will not know how to sequence correctly and not know how to play correctly with this deck.
Or if you're John Beagle, you'll miss your Cloudfin Raptor evolve triggers. So no big deal.
Yeah. Oh.
So we'll go ahead and we'll wrap it up here. But we haven't actually been very good at being kind of feeding into our social media outlets. But we do have a Twitter. It's at AtYourEndStep. As redundant as that is,
I wasn't clever when I made it.
No, sorry about that, guys. Well, maybe we'll make a new one, but probably not. And we also have a Facebook page, and you can actually just search Facebook for AtYourEndStep. It will come right up. So please, follow us on Twitter. Like our Facebook page. We definitely want to connect with our fans. So if you haven't done that yet, please do so. Also, we do have our own personal Twitters. They're down in the show notes. Mine is at Morgue War Marshal.
Get it?
Yeah, it's good. It's good, right? Jordan?
My Twitter is at Andreman. I'm not even going to try to spell it. Just look below in the show notes.
Yeah.
You'll find links to just political ramblings and Magic the Gathering related stuff.
Yeah.
As well as StarCraft stuff.
And Mike, if you...
I'm at big_tears because I bitch a lot.
That's true. That's his lovely nickname. Again, please, guys, we also do have email as well, so it's AtYourEndStep@gmail.com. And guys, do you have anything else you want to add to the podcast?
I want to throw out too, we are part of what is Team Comic Town.
Team Comic Town. And
myself, my shirt says Big Tears on the back. So if you listen to this and then you see me punting in an event, feel free to come up and laugh at me.
Yeah, most certainly. Please do so.
Yeah, no, Mike, do you want to talk about the article? I know we already did, but that's on legit, right?
If you read legit MTG, I posted an article in the last few weeks. Under Mike, Keknee is the last name. Take a look, and you can also link to our Twitter for the podcast through there because, why not have all that interconnectivity?
Exactly.
Oh, and we just go to YouTube, right?
We haven't done anything with it yet. We're looking at. We want to kind of make a big splash with our first video that we do here.
Yeah.
But we are looking to also possibly doing recordings, putting them on YouTube as well.
Right. So just another avenue for you guys to enjoy the podcast. I think that's probably just YouTube/AtYourEndStep, probably.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
It is.
So YouTube.com/AtYourEndStep.
I mean, there's nothing there besides our banner picture. But hey, you
we're
want to see
getting
the
there.
banner picture?
We're getting there. We're going to get started on that here soon as well. This has been another episode of AtYourEndStep. Thanks again for downloading and listening, and we'll catch you next week.
You may go to your turn.
We haven't done that in so long, and you just got to bring it up, you bastard.